Hello and welcome to Two Man Meta. I'm Mondo Spanner.
And I'm Aunty, and on today's episode of OOP we are going to do a brief playthrough of Warhammer Champions Age of Sigmar, the card game, which I have again done in the wrong order.
Yeah, definitely. Warhammer Age of Sigmar Champions, the card game.
Such a long name.
Yeah.
But hopefully if you combine this video with the keyword video we have done and the card anatomy video we have done, you will be able to learn how to play Warhammer Age of Sigmar Champions.
It'll do. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to put your blessings down in a random order. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the champions down, and then once we put the champions down, we're going to show you how you adjust your life, and then that is going to be the beginning of it's going to be like the setup, and then we'll get into the actual game. So here are my 4 blessings. Go on.
So when you start, you need to pick 4 different blessings that match the faction you have chosen, and these need to be randomized and placed down on the back row. So there's 4 lanes in this game, so we divide it up into 4 sections.
And then my 4 champions are an Iridescent Horror, a Chaos Champion, an Aspiring Deathbringer, and a Bloodthirster of Unfettered Fury. And you get those, basically we're both using starter decks. I'm using the Chaos starter deck and Aunty Kaz is using...
I'm using the Destruction starter deck. So I have 4 different champions because there are 4 different lanes. And I have a Bone Splitter Shaman, an Uruk boss, a second Uruk boss, and a Mega boss on Maw Crusher. So when you start the game and you build your decks, you need 4 champions, no more, no less. And if you look at the cards, the green cost that we showed you in the anatomy, that has to add up to less than 20.
Yeah, 20 or less. And then these ones here in like the clarity, mauve, red circle is your health thing. So everybody starts with 30 health. And then as you can see here, hopefully, this Iridescent Horror gives me -1, so I'd be down to 29. Then I add 1 for my Chaos Champion, taking me back up to 30. And then I subtract 1 for my Aspiring Deathbringer, which takes me to 29. And then I add 2 for my Bloodthirster of Unfettered Fury, so that's 31. So I'm going to start on 31 health, which I'm going to represent on this handy dandy health thingamajigger.
So I have 2 +1s, a +2 and a -1. So taking the 30 that you normally start on, I would add my bonuses, which takes me to 33 for a start.
Give me a die. Nice. So I've nicked a die so that we can do a roll off for who's going to choose first, or to go first or second.
So
30.
You need a 30 card deck for this. So we'll shuffle up our decks before the game.
Which you get in your starter set, just so you're aware.
And then we'll roll off to decide who's going first.
Whoop, whoop. So I'm going to go second.
So the first player gets to draw 4 cards start in hand.
Should we put our heroes down first?
Yep. So the way the heroes are placed is the first player places 1 of their champions. So that would be me. So I will place my Bone Splitter Shaman there. The second player then has to place 2 champions.
So I'm going to put my Bloodthirster there, and I'm going to put my Chaos Champion there.
The first player then has to place 2 champions.
Ooh, then I place 2, don't I?
Yep.
Bosh.
And then I place my final one.
Okay. Right, so that's pretty cool. So that's all of that. And then, yeah, the person who's going to go first draws 4 cards, and the person who's going second draws 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. And as we've stated before when we were doing it, the card anatomy, I think we said that what happens is you have to use one of your actions, because you get 2 actions per turn. You have to use one of your actions if you want to draw a card.
But you can't use the action to draw a card. You have to skip the action and then draw at the end of the turn. So there's no way that you can use actions to draw in the middle of the turn unless you play a card that does so. So there's no resources in this game. You just have 2 actions per turn. So I will start by taking my first turn. So the first thing I do is rotate any of my blessings, starting from left to right, but I haven't turned any. I haven't got any champions that need rotating for any reason, so then I would go up to my units and spells row, and there's nothing there that needs turning either. So now I just have 2 actions. So the first thing I will do is I will play a spell, and that heals 1 life. So I gain 1. This says gain 1 health, so that's what I do because it's gain rotation. His quest is to heal, so I have achieved that quest, so he also rotates. And for my second action, I guess I will play an orc over here. So I've completed this quest of deploying a unit, so he rotates. This guy does rotate damage to opponent if the unit has 2 support, which are cards underneath it, because he is a stacking unit, but he's not stacked on anyone, so I don't gain any bonuses. So he just deals 2 straight damage.
Down to 29 already.
That is both of my actions. So my turn is over.
Lovely. Right. I'm going to do, you'll like this. So I'm going to do a brutal smash, which does 2 damage to you. It would do 6 damage to him if he had 8 or more cards in his hand, but he does not. Plus, this is an action, an ability. So, and his first top left-hand corner is an ability, so we want to get rid of that. So that's good. And then for my next action, I am going to do a blood hunt on this guy, remove a highlighted spell or unit, and gain a health. Go away, Infernal Chant. So that's that, but that wasn't an action. I didn't do any damage. So therefore he doesn't get to do his thing. Right, that's my turn. Your turn.
So my turn again. So we go through the rotations, starting at the bottom and going left to right. So we just end up with this guy who rotates to do his rotate damage again, which is 2 this time.
Down to 28.
So for my action, I will play a tactical formation on my Uruk boss over here. So abilities can be played on the colours that match them. In this case, it doesn't have a colour and it says any can be used. So I'm going to use it here, and it says draw 1 card, which is very handy in this game because there's not a lot of chance to draw. And then swap this champion's position with highlighted disengaged champion. Now, as I've shown before on the others, what I like to call a little Tetris block. So that shows where I can move him to. So I will swap these 2 guys over.
Ooh. I wonder why that is.
And for my second action, I will play a stacking unit. So stacking units can be played on top of other units. The bottom one then does nothing, but the top one still rotates as normal. So for playing a unit, I get to rotate him. His ability is rotate damage to opponent, so that would be 1. Reduce damage from highlighted enemy units. Increase that by 1 per support. So the highlighted units he reduces are these 2 sections, and which would be there but isn't at the bottom.
Off the side.
So that is my 2 turns. So that's my 2 actions for the turn. So
beautiful.
Over to Mondo.
Easy. Right, so first one is Blood Feast, which is a spell which rotates my horror. And then the next one I'm going to do is a Fanatical Skull Fiend, who I'm going to play out on this guy. Now, this is quite an interesting card. This corner and this corner do damage to me, but these 2 corners do rend damage. However, because I've got here when a highlighted ally deals 1 or more damage to either player, I gain this amount of health. So even though it's done 1 damage to me, I've just gained 2 health. So overall, I've gained a health. So I'm up to 28. Hurrah! And that is the end of my turn because I've done 2 actions.
Your Chaos Champion also rotates for deploying a unit.
Lovely, thank you.
So as you can see, we're deploying and spinning the champions, which we find is the best way to win in this game. The faster you can spin your champions around, the faster you can access the blessings.
And some of the blessings.
And some of the blessings are insanely powerful for what they are, or just really, really useful. Obviously, the way to win the game is to reduce your opponent's life total to 0. So it's kind of just a slugfest.
I'm sure one of mine, like the Chaos Ruin Blade, does 3 damage, then 4 damage, then 4 damage, then 5. And if you think about that, that's just a ridiculous, like 19 damage or something ridiculous. No, 9, 12, 15 damage, which is, you know, half of the life total of my opponent. And I can pretty much get that off in 2 turns if I use all of my actions to just go straight through it, which is really strong.
So my turn starts and I rotate. This does 0 damage, so nothing happens.
And it reduces by 1, doesn't it?
Yep. But the 0 can be modified, whereas X's that appear on cards obviously don't do anything. So I will skip both of the actions in my turn and draw 2 cards at the end of my turn.
Beautiful. Right, beginning of my turn, rotate this guy, take 3. And also I gain 2. And then this rotates. And I don't really want to play this spell. So I am going to draw 2 cards for my turn. Well, skip both my actions to draw 2 cards.
So at the beginning of my turn, everything rotates that's meant to rotate. So when I hit the last corner that has nothing on it, my card will just be discarded. But we're not quite there yet. And I will play a spell to rotate him and gain health again. So you can't go above 35 health in this game, but you can keep stacking health up to that. I will skip my second action and draw a card at the end of my turn.
Fantastic. Right, my go. So rotate this. That does 1 damage to me, but fortunately I get a damage back. So that's doing nothing. And then this rotates away. So that's gone. Okay. And then what shall we do next? I don't really have anything that I want to do, so I'm just going to skip both of my actions again to draw 2.
So my turn again, we rotate, this stack goes away, everything in the stack goes once it's rotated. But this guy should have rotated first, going left to right. Yeah. Just getting ahead of myself explaining the rules there, so I gain 1 health.
Boo.
And I think I will play a Pouncing Wolf Rider unit here. Only champions that are warriors can deploy the units that are red. So we don't have any warrior wizards in these starter sets, so we can't show you that mechanic, but it's all explained in the previous 2 videos. So he does nothing when he is deployed, and then I will skip my second action to draw a card.
Sweet. Right, my go. I am... Okay, so rotate this guy. So this is his last corner. So one of the reasons for putting the Bloodthirster in between both of these is that he increases the damage done from highlighted units, which is these guys, on the last corner by 1. So that does 4 damage to you. And then, so I'm going to put an Arcane Bolt out on this guy, which unfortunately, oh no, actually, hold on. I do apologise, kids. Oh, that works out beautifully. Right, so I'm going to do an action on this guy, which is Gift of Change. It says remove a highlighted unit. If a unit was removed, deploy 1 demon unit from your hand or deck onto the champion whose unit was removed. So I am going to remove this unit, which has Last Stand. So Last Stand does 2 damage to you.
So Last Stand triggers when the card is removed.
Which is beautiful. And now I can put a demon down. So there's a demon. It's a Reckless Juggernaut. Beautiful. And then that was an action, so that rotates him. And we'll get rid of the gift of change because that was an ability, sorry. And then for my next turn, I'm going to do Insatiable Blood Reaver on this guy. As this enters play, remove a highlighted unit, so that would be off of the Bloodthirster, but he's not got anything on him. And then he does rotate damage to my opponent, and I gain 2 health when he actually does something. So that's both of my actions. As you can see, I was able to do an action to cheat out a thing, to also get to cheat out a unit, to get an effect off of my other unit that I got rid of, and I also got another unit out. So you can actually chain, kind of like get multiple actions out of a turn, and you're going to see that again in this turn. So your go, dude.
So we rotate from left to right again. So I gain 2 health. And then I gain deal damage to your opponent to start off with. So that's 1 for the rotate. And then gain an additional action this turn. So I've got 3 actions this turn. And this is one of the main things we've found in this game is action cheating and getting extra actions is just so
super
powerful.
Strong. Super strong.
So I think for my first action, I am going to skip all 3.
Oh wow, and draw 3.
And draw 3 cards.
Naughty, it's never been done. I don't think that's ever been done in any of our games before. Right, my go. Awesome. So I'm going to do 4 damage to you, and then I'm going to gain 2 health. Well, that is the rules on the card. And then this guy, he rotates. Now, interestingly, if I'd have had any units, which would have only been on the Bloodthirster, he would have actually took that unit off again, because he takes units off on both of those. So that's pretty naughty. Right, in my turn. Oh, that's kind of pretty. All right, okay. Oh no, that's no good. We don't want that. Right, I'm going to play a spell on this guy, so that rotates him. And I'm going to skip my second action to draw a card.
Okay, so my turn, doing the rotations again. I gain 3 health.
This flipping spell, man.
And this guy rotates.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything.
Okay, so now I've got to work out what cards to play.
You got enough of them?
Let's...
So Aunty Kaz currently has 6 cards in his hand. I have 2.
So we will just go with a mob rule to start off with, and we will play it over here. So 2 damage to your opponent. Increase this damage by 3 if the champion controls a unit with support 2, which he does not.
Yay. So I'm down to 29.
But he achieves his first quest,
Whee!
which is damage. And I will play a beast unit over here. So I've deployed a unit, but this one has to be an Uruk unit specifically, so it doesn't trigger. And that is my 2 actions for the turn.
Oh, that's really interesting. That says the highlighted unit, which is this guy, can't deploy units, but he can't anyway, so it's because he's a wizard. So that's kind of cool. Right, my turn.
Also, this guy doesn't trigger this turn because he's got an X, and won't trigger next turn because he's got an X.
Beautiful. Right, rotate him, he's gone. Rotate him, take 7. Yeah, that's a proper amount of damage. Rotate this spell and rejoice. Oh no, that's the guy still there.
So again, it was 7 rather than 6 because he's got the buff from the Bloodthirster.
Awesome. I do love this card. Right. So okay. So on my turn, I don't know. Let's put this guy out on here. So he does rend damage to my opponent. So that's 1 damage and nothing stops it. And then I think I'm going to have to skip my second action to draw a card. Yes, that feels good.
Okay, so my turn, everything rotates. This does a full rotation and disappears.
Yes.
This does a rotation and does 1 damage to my opponent, and I gain an additional action this turn.
Ooh.
So I'll deploy an arcane bolt on my wizard.
Oh dear.
This does nothing this turn. And for my second action, I think I'm going to skip my second and third actions to just draw 2 cards at the end of my turn.
Okie dokie. Right, my turn. I'm going to rotate this guy. He doesn't do anything. I'm going to rotate this guy. He's gone. And I'm going to rotate this and you take 7. Oh, that's still there. I keep wanting to get rid of him. Right. Okay. I think I'm going to do a Furious Strike with this guy, so he rotates. And it says 1 damage to your opponent, increase this by 1 for each highlighted disengaged champion. So it's 2 damage in total. Oh, we're doing some work in this game. Right, and then for my second action, I am going to draw a second card. Draw a card, sorry, my bad. Right, you'll go.
Okay, so we rotate here and we do rend damage to my opponent.
So 2 damage, 26.
We rotate here, which does nothing.
Whoop.
And we rotate here fully, which disappears.
Yay! I should have saved that Furious Strike.
Okay. So I think we will play a Deadly Chop over here as an ability for my first action to remove highlighted spell or unit and deal 1 damage to my opponent.
Boo. 25.
And then I think I'm gonna have to do 2 damage to my opponent again, increase to 4 if their hand size is 8 or more, which it is not.
So 2 damage, yeah?
Yep.
23. Okay, my go? Because that was 2 actions, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So that rotates away. It's done its gnarly work now. And then I'm going to play a spell on this guy. Infernal Gateway. Remove a highlighted enemy unit. Deploy up to rotate demon units from your deck. So therefore, that's gone.
No. Remove a highlighted unit. Yep, so that guy is gone. And then
It's not until we get here
it
that I'm
doesn't
going to be able to
deploy the
cast
unit
somebody
until
else.
it rotates, yeah. But you also have played a spell, so you've fully rotated your champion, which pops the
Chaos
blessing.
Runeblade. So this is what I was talking about. So look, if you look, it does 3, then 4, then 4, then 5 damage, and it's clunky. So I was actually going to play another unit, but there's no point because I'm just going to heroic act this. So when this flips over, does that just do 3 off the bat?
No, you have to use the heroic action on the clunkies to activate them. So you will have to use that, and it does 3 damage and rotates.
Then I move it on. So take 3. And that's my 2 actions.
So as you can see, you can get some horrific advantages when you flip your blessings.
Yeah. This is strong, this Chaos Runeblade.
Yeah.
Out of the starter blessings,
For
especially.
this game, cards have not been coming out the way they normally do. We usually rotate a lot faster than this. And that seems to be the advantage in this game, is if you can play the units in the right places at the right time, you can just do horrific advantages in damage and card draw to your opponent. So moving on to my turn, we will rotate this to do 7 damage to you.
Nice.
And then I have 2 actions. Unfortunately, my hand still hasn't been coming out, so I'm going to skip both to draw 2 cards.
Cool. And I'm just now going to win the game because this rotates, and then for both my actions, I'm going to use these and do 8 damage. So 4 followed by 4. Yar. And that's the end of the game. Right. Thank you very much for joining us. We are going to do a review of this game. But we need to kind of go quickly because the battery's about to die on our camera. Right. So thanks for joining us and see you soon.
If you enjoyed this episode of 2 Man Meta, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date as we release multiple episodes each week. If you would like to help support the channel, check out the links in the description below, as well as links to our social media pages. Thank you for watching. See you next episode.